Good evening, Your Excellency Shri Vishnu Prakash, Mr. Dharendra Kumar, Mr. Kuk Hun Chang, and dear friends. I am an M&A lawyer, and I will talk about issues that are the stay awake issues if you want to invest or do deals in India. And I've called it the list of stay awake issues because if you're not staying awake about these issues could cause you to lose some sleep later. This is a non-exhaustive list, but to my mind, the most important issue if you're investing in India is due diligence. As it says on the slide, do your homework. Now, homework on what? If you have a counterparty and you're doing a joint venture, find out about the ownership structure of that counterparty. Indian businesses are family owned, something that I think South Korean business would understand. The incentives of a promoter owned and controlled business are very different from a management run business. Exit is not a priority. These businesses are built to create legacies and to create dynasties. They are not created to simply exit. So think about your counterparty. Do due diligence on the sector and all the laws. What are the environmental laws? What are the foreign investment laws? What are the anti-bribery issues associated with your particular partner or target? There was a book written by Sri Amartya Sen, the argumentative Indian, but it could well have been called the talkative Indian. We are very porous with our views and with our feelings, which is why confidentiality when you're coming into India is also critical. Think about entering into a confidentiality agreement. Matters can leak very simply, unintentionally, but then could be very different from your perspective in terms of investing in India. Quite often, it is said that there are issues regarding enforcement in India. In fact, if you ask me as a lawyer, enforcement of a shareholders agreement, a very basic contract, is a grey matter under Indian law. But I think the government has noticed some of these concerns, and in the new companies bill, which has been approved by the lower house of parliament and is currently pending approval before the upper house, the statute actually recognizes that shareholder agreements are enforceable, again providing certainty to investors, both domestic and foreign. Indian courts are unquestionably fairly slow. Obtaining relief is cumbersome, it's expensive, but primarily due to the shortage of qualified judges. The courts themselves are extremely independent, do not bow down to government pressure, and in fact several times give the government a bloody nose, if I could call it that way, simply because they do not bow down to government dictates. They are completely independent. Most investors prefer offshore arbitration in their investment agreements, and that is indeed recommended following the Supreme Court clarifying that it would respect offshore arbitration in connection with any joint venture or investment dispute and would not allow domestic courts to intervene in the context of foreign arbitration. This was recently settled by the Supreme Court, which recently reversed a judgment in the case of Bhatia International and allowed and recognized foreign arbitration awards. I think I have another minute, so very quickly I will touch upon the second bullet, which is the pricing bullet. And there, just to say that when you're investing in India, there are certain rules prescribed by the Reserve Bank, India's central bank, which mandate that you must invest at a particular minimum price. There are no such rules applicable to an Indian investor, and so some foreigners feel, look, this is not fair, there's an imbalance, and there is a regulatory arbitrage in favor of the Indian investor. But even that is perhaps no longer true, because if an Indian investor comes in at a price which is less than fair value, then there are tax implications on the investor, and therefore I think even in this context, some level playing field, I think the expression was used earlier, has indeed been established. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I will end my presentation, and that's the list of stay awake issues, and I hope you follow them. One quick point: we have a detailed brochure awaiting you at the ICCK desk outside with some information about the investment regime, several opportunities, and some key contacts of government ministries. So please help yourself to a copy after the evening. Thank you.